Welcome back to Felony Miami. I'm your host, Joe Stone.
Just seeing my community, our areas, not trying to like single out race or anything right now, but that's what I've seen, and that's what I'm continuing to see. You know, when it comes to, they're saying Amazon may come into Overtown. That's a big thing. May.
That could be a lot of traffic down in that area, huh?
Yeah, but that's a lot of letting people out of their go, you know?
Right.
Overtown is the city where...
And Overtown has a history of being chopped in half and moved and separated.
It's all, the stadium for the soccer, and it's just a lot. You know, Midtown is half of it, and it's a lot going on in that. And Overtown is, of course, it's a city where, for the Black community, when you went to Miami Beach back in the old, and I don't know the dates, they called it Overtown because it was over the town for us to come over here and enjoy ourselves. So to know that is being depleted, and some people just they can't prevent, and we don't know how to really prevent outside of just marching and protesting. Like, how can we really stop the changes? And when the money comes in, i.e. the 95, when 95 got set up.
Yeah.
That same thing is happening, so.
Yeah. Because Overtown.
I get kind of like passionate about it because it's sad, So eventually.
Well, what does that do to the community? I mean,
it breaks it up. It spreads us out.
Spreads out family,
our history,
neighbors.
Our history. And not too long ago, Keon Hardeman, he went to FAMU too, and he did this big thing on Instagram, and he kept doing history lessons for Black History Month. And I learned so much. He's a city commissioner.
Yeah. District 5.
Yeah, he did some history
District
stuff.
5 city commissioner. Yeah.
He did some history stuff for us, and I learned so much. and it's so much history there just for us as a people. The little bit of culture that we do have and history that we have, we could
in Overtown. Overtown was the Mary Elizabeth Hotel was down there, and that's where you used to have like Ray Charles and Sam Cooke, and I mean all those great artists would perform in those areas. Yeah.
Now I understand that one thing that somebody could probably know better than me, but I understand there's some money that is a government money that's set aside to help develop Overtown. That's supposed to be for kind of bringing up the local people and bringing up the local property.
Supposed to be.
Right, that it seems from everything, every time I read something about it, it's the city commission is trying to give that money to big developers to build a luxury.
That money is called TIF money, tax increment funds. It's money that's managed by the CRA. In Miami, there are 2 CRAs. There's the Omni CRA and the Southeast Overtown Park West CRA. The Omni CRA is basically Watson Island, the Boulevard section from about 22nd Street south to 6th Street and runs over to just on the other side of the railroad track on First Court. So that's but it's kind of a squiggly kind of a situation. Southeast Overtown Park West covers all those areas. The thing about all of that is that, that Overtown is going to be a sign one day, and it's not going to be that far away when it said this used to be Overtown.
It used to be, yeah.
Black folks used to live here.
Yeah.
Because, listen, I'm old enough. I went to the Mary Elizabeth Hotel.
So
I heard Sam and Dave.
Wow.
When they first started. I used to go to the Sir John.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw a lot of folks, that entertainers, that's the only place you could see them.
Sure.
And they'd entertain at the Fontainebleau or the Eden Rock, which were the 2 big hotels back in the 50s. But Overtown is everything up to 14th Street, up to I-395 now.
Yeah.
Everything south from there, that's all being developed. That's all going to disappear in terms of
local housing,
what passes or what used to be Overtown.
Yeah. So that's my big changes that I've seen.
Now from what you were saying, I think this speaks to that, which is you were saying people know to get angry and protest. Yes, and you hear a protest, but now when he starts talking about the details of this, he's talking about the CRA.
How do you do that?
It seems like there should be a way to get into that system and
fight against
properly fight against it
without
in a
being
legal way.
Yeah, it's all about money. There's
a lot of big real estate money coming in now.
That's the thing.
No, but here's the thing.
It's
I was talking Wednesday to somebody before the march in Liberty City in the Pork and Beans Project. Mm-hmm. What a lot of people don't realize is Miami is a city that's known for huge income inequality.
Yeah,
where
I think it's the number one in the country.
Well, it hovers between being first in the top 5.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you can see buildings, high-rise condo buildings with apartments, condos that are worth $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million,
Yeah.
and within a quarter of a mile, within direct eyesight, there are people who are making $15,000 a year. That's the average income in Overtown.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, most of the murders that occur in Miami occur west of Miami Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things that happen bad occur west of Miami Avenue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4/5 of the area of the city.
Right.
The coastline, what people know about Miami when they see it on TV or in the movies or whatever, is Biscayne Boulevard, South Beach, the downtown Brickell Avenue, Coconut Grove. Now, there are an awful lot of people in this community who've come from other countries, who work, who make money, and who take as much of that money as they can and send it elsewhere to families in Cuba, in Mexico, in Guatemala, throughout the Caribbean, whatever.
Yeah, there's actually stats kept on that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all money that is leaving this community. Now, there are valid reasons, for the folks who do this. But the problem is that that's money that leaves this community that consequently never gets spent in this community. And that's one of the reasons for the income inequality, because you're sucking money out of this community that in other communities would be spent in the community. And when you go to, and we've never had a real social consciousness in Miami like you find in other cities. There's never been the bar association, the legal community in this city has never really been strong about standing up and looking out for people's rights, for the interest of people. We've had the ACLU, but you go to New York, you go to Chicago, you go to Los Angeles, you go to a lot of cities, and it's not just the ACLU. There are really activist lawyers and groups who are funded because there's money in the community to fund these things, of people who are concerned about social justice, about civil rights, about all of the issues that are impacting people, and there are people there to fight. You don't have that in Miami. Mm-hmm. That's a huge loss. Part of it is financial.
It may be small fights. It's just it's so much like this.
Yeah, and the thing about Miami has a lot of segregation on other levels besides the income inequality. I think there is a disconnect. There's definitely a disconnect in the entertainment industry. Aaron and I work in the entertainment industry. A couple of the other producers of this show, that's our main bread and butter. And there's a lot of segregation in the entertainment industry here that you don't see in New York and LA and Nashville. I don't know if it's a byproduct of just the humidity. We have a saying, it's not the heat, it's the stupidity. But there is, and then there's this whole bubble, this Miami bubble, where you can literally not drive, less than a mile and not see a Bentley, a Rolls, a Maserati, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini. Yep. And it's amazing. You go out in the rest of the country, you don't see that. You might see one.
There's
fancy
the one,
car.
And people know whose car it is.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, that's the millionaire. It's so
small.
Weird
it's
here,
small,
too.
and then on top of that, the people who are big like that, who have that money, they don't really reach out to try to help fight the people who just have a voice to fight.
Right.
Yeah. And if they do, it's not a lot of shine or light being shed on that either.
Right, and I don't think that like Al was saying before, a lot of people voted angrily for Trump. I remember when he was running, and I was with one of my physicians, and they showed me a picture, and they said, "I think I'm going to vote for Trump," and I was like, "Seriously?" And they said, "Yeah," and they showed me a little meme, and it was, "Why Trump? Fuck you, that's why." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, because it seems like it's not "fuck you," it's like "fuck all of us."
Yes.
I'm just saying.
It wasn't as much necessarily because he was so awesome as much as it was people were fed up.
Oh,
with
they didn't want that. Yeah.
Yeah, people
fed up with the way things are.
Right, and I understand where Al's coming from making that statement. Yes, I could clearly see how he occurred. So, and that's why I'm also saying I see people are waking up and getting more involved on a civic level.
Right.
There's a lot more women that are registered now
changing.
to run for office, which I think is amazing.
Thank God, social media. Just say hello to social. Shout out to all the social media because that really has helped.
Yeah.
It helped us. It helps us search. It helps us listen. Everybody has a voice. We get to listen. We get to learn. We get to.
But I think there's
unlike
also
before too.
Yeah, but I think there's also the downside to that is that maybe there is that attention span issue and there's so much out there. There's so much noise out there. How do you filter what's real and what's not real and what's meaningful and not? And that's part of what we try to do here and have these conversations with real people and provide vetted links on the website so that if you do want to try to make a change and go out there and make a change, maybe you can find some tools to do it.
Right.
And hear voices and say, oh, well, if Angela's doing that, maybe I could do that. If Aaron's doing that, maybe I could do that. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And
that just maybe technology, not just social media.
Maybe, yeah.
Just technology.
Maybe it's a combination.
It's a combination.
Yeah.
It really is. And the only way to filter that is to watch and learn. Like, there's no blue handbook for us right now. Technology is new. We have to figure this out on how can we filter who not to listen to anymore, who to listen to. What is fake news? What is real news? What is the real deal? With the, you have to just go through it and weed it out as we go. We're in the blue. We're figuring it out. All of us are just trying to figure it out. And eventually it's going to get to the point we get it, but.
Yeah, like me on Twitter, I think I got to a point where I follow people that I trust. Or I follow people that I believe in, and sometimes they might retweet something from somebody else that seems smart, and then I'll follow that person for a little bit. And
it takes time. You get, you're trying to.
But I see. But I think you're the exception and not the rule, because I think a lot of people they have this blind faith that they turn on the news channel and they don't realize that there are different sets of rules for broadcast news. And when I say broadcast, these like ABC, NBC, CBS that actually use the public airwaves, which are a public trust, which are owned by us, the people, the taxpayers. And there's a certain set of rules. So you can't just say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, supposedly.
Exactly. Theoretically, in the law, on the books, the Federal Communications, you're supposed to stay within, especially news. And the thing is, in this country, news used to be a lost leader for the networks. It did not make money. It was a service provided a couple of times a day. And now news is the big seller. That's the one that generates all the ad dollars.
Yeah.
And then you add this cable aspect, like with the Fox News and MSNBC, and they don't have to follow the same guidelines as a broadcast over a terrestrial broadcast does. They can basically label themselves as entertainment news, and they can say whatever the hell they want to say. But then you have this Fox News phenomena where you have people going, "Hey, no, it says news behind it. These are news broadcasters, and look, they're saying this. This is not." So, shame on those people for not going, "Wait a minute, that sounds a little sketchy. Maybe I should go double check this. Let me check the resources." So Aaron, you're going and you're checking your resources and you're saying, that doesn't sound right. But I think too many people just follow blindly.
Yeah. Because maybe they don't want to do the work.
Well, it's also, but again, it's also genetic to a degree. I think we're all predisposed in some way to some part of the spectrum of humanity.
Yeah.
And that's what these cable channels do. In other words, so you've got it's spectrum. It's like, okay, you've got a segment. We'll cater to a segment of people who think this way. We'll cater to a segment of people who think that way, and it's very consciously being done. And you hear the term tribalism and
Sure.
how people are being divided into, but you got to go back and look at Rush Limbaugh's been on the radio how many years? How many years? Him and maybe
20, 25 years.
yeah,
somewhere
him
around
and so for 25 years you've had this guy and other guys, and radio. There's certain messages that are easily transmitted on the radio when it's a pretty direct. Doesn't require a whole lot of nuance. It's bombastic. It's in your face. It's easy to kind of go along with it. You don't have to think because you drive and you listen. I mean, the problem is
It's
when
passive activity for sure.
yeah, I mean, my blog is an acquired taste because I spend a lot of time. I provide documents, videos, audio tapes. You name it. Photographs. And it takes time to accumulate all that information, and it takes time to put it together. But I don't want people to. In my case, I don't want people to believe me. As much as I want you to look at the stuff that I'm providing you, the backup material, make up your own mind. And that's a trend that's beginning to take hold in other ways with other people. The same thing, because but it requires some attention. It requires some commitment to actually reading.
I think the positive thing about all these trends is that younger people are breaking away from the old ways.
The mold.
Like I noticed in the election in Alabama, that was the Democrat won the special election.
Jones.
Right. It was kind of a big surprise for everybody. And it turned out the biggest block that made a difference was the black Alabama people, especially black women voters.
Oh yeah, how they
Yeah,
how
girl.
they turned the whole thing over. If it wasn't for the black woman's vote,
Yeah.
it would have been a whole left.
Now, at the same time, I was
kinda cool.
looking at kind of the breakdowns, and I saw that white Alabamans, voters under, I forget what the age was, under 30, under 28, something like that, went for Jones, the Democrat, by a long way. So it wasn't kind of the old way of things. It seems like the young people coming up are starting to make up their own minds and ignoring the old ways.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I think is a great thing for the next generation, which will hopefully be paying my Social Security.
I want.
Yeah, no doubt. Is that they're not looped into this whole like Fox thing or ABC or nightly news thing. They kind of get their information on the go. And it's in snippets. It's in bursts. It's like this is the IG, or the Gram, or
the Gram.
whatever, it's the Grizzle. They get their information in those sorts. They're not
The
really
Grizzle.
plopping down.
People really call it the Grizzle.
I know.
He
I
did.
think I
He
just
did.
made
That's
that
the
up.
same.
Instagram. AKA
Yeah,
the
that's how
Grizzle.
it. That's how it is. Like
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of good because these people aren't like plopping down, for the nightly news with their martini.
Yeah, no.
And it's not that way anymore. So that's I think a positive thing for the society, for the communities.
Seems like it. See, there's an evolution.
It does. Yeah.
it's an evolution. It could be good and bad though, especially like with what it is net neutrality.
Neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Yeah, like isn't that like that is almost like being like information being governmented, like to me. Like I don't know how it's gonna go. I have no idea how it will end up being.
Yeah.
But that's what it seems like.
We're
But
gonna
up to
find
this
out,
point,
but-
it's gonna
Yeah.
be nice. Like up to this point, we get to see everybody's opinion and everybody where they're at, and but I think at that point, I don't know how that's gonna turn out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe robotic.
Something to look at, right?
Yeah.
Basically, if it goes that way, whoever has the most money can have a
They
bigger
can-
voice.
Block is the blog and traffic
Yeah.
to to
Slow
him
down-
like whatever
slow you down,
they could do
yeah.
anything
Yeah.
but that's a whole nother day.
It's
Another case.
that is a whole entire different show. Al, I'm curious. The show is called Felony Miami, and we do a focus on the criminal justice system, and you've had some experience in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, before I did any of this, I used to rob banks.
Oh, man.
Really?
Wait a minute.
Tell us about your bank robbing days, Al.
Oh, it's a long time
I think we
ago.
all thought about doing it too.
We've all
thought about robbing the bank.
Listen, I mean, we could do a show about this. I mean, in some ways, it was a long time ago. I'm 76 years old. I've been out of prison now 35 years. Yeah, so and I'm very fortunate. I'm very aware of that. I'm very, very fortunate.
Did you have your rights restored?
I don't know. Well, when I was younger, I ran for public office. I mean, one time I ran for I ran for state representative, but that was in Ohio.
Oh,
I was in the original Ohio pen in the '68 riots.
So, do you have the right to vote in Florida?
I think I do. I got I don't know, 30 years ago or sometime there, I got something from the governor and put it in a
well, but if you were convicted now, because Ohio is not one of the states that disenfranchises their felons. They do restore felons voting rights.
I ran for state representative in 1974. I didn't win, but that was the Democratic candidate.
And what year were you robbing banks?
Oh, from 1959
the easy times.
to 19
For video cameras.
Yeah, for a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
I was a stick-up guy. I was
Okay.
a stick-up guy from 59 to about 75.
Oh, man, that's a good run.
Well,
That
no,
is
it's not a good.
that's a great run.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Congratulations.
Before
no,
the
no, don't you don't do that because that's not really true. It wasn't a good run because I spent 20 years in prison.
That's
so-
the bad part.
So it was a run, but it wasn't good.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and and that's there's nothing glorified about that. I did the crimes, I did the time.
right.
No, and you pay. You listen. You
and-
paid
and
for
I-
it,
I-
and yeah.
I spent 8.5 years in solitary confinement for telling wardens how to run their prison. Yeah, so
How do you make it through that, man?
you make it.
A lot of time to think.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I've read a lot of books in my life.
Yeah, man.
So, which, knock on wood, is why I'm still here. But, yeah, I mean, I don't talk about it. It's been so long ago.
Yeah.
I don't run from it. I mean, if people ask me, I'll talk about it. But I don't, I don't go around saying, hey, I'm a bank robber or whatever.
You're not a bank robber anymore.
No.
We all have. Listen, we all have a past.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying,
my little stories
but
as well.
but it's not.
He's a reformed bank robber.
Well, yeah, it's not even that. I mean, I did a life sentence for armed bank robbery in Ohio back when the sentence was 30 years to life. That was predicated on the old Dillinger and Pretty Boy Floyd times when states would prosecute bank robbers versus the federal government. So I got out, ran for public office, became the public relations director for a national prison group called the 7-Step Foundation, and was gung-ho and ready to go around and found myself spending as much time in prison then after I got out as I had spent when I was in prison. And I ended up back in prison. So when I got out in '84, I said, well, this time I walk out, I ain't never going back.
Yeah.
I think I'm tired of being rehabilitated.
Yeah.
I've been rehabilitated enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about the level of corruption in the prison system.
Oh, I've written about it. I got stories on my website. It's amazing stuff.
I mean, we want to do a program, honestly, on these private prisons. We think that deserves a whole program because
it probably deserves a whole series.
Yeah,
Wow.
It seems counterintuitive, the whole concept.
Yeah, no, of course. It's when you're making money from the misery of other people, it's always a bad situation.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about private prisons. I was never in a private prison. I was always in a public facility.
I understand that all the youth prisons in Florida are private.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what I heard.
No, it's a bad situation. Listen, doing time is not good. I mean, I'm one of those guys who said, you've got my body, but you don't have my mind. And so I was able to keep some of it. I've got my own quirks. Obviously one of them being I'm pretty anti-authority, which is why I do a blog today.
Yeah, I think a lot of us.
But yeah, I mean, it's 35 years ago. I mean, it was
another lifetime.
It was in another America.
It was definitely in another America.
Yeah.
But you said this was like 9 years ago. What was your inspiration after all of that, witnessing the corruption way before?
Well, no, I write about. Well, the reason I did the blog and I was in the film. I got out of prison. I was very lucky when I got out of prison. I came back to Miami, and I had some friends who were in the film business.
Okay.
And I was 40 years old. In prison, I was running. I was doing. I was in good shape. Wasn't a bad-looking guy for being 40 years old, and I had some friends that said, "Well, you ought to get in the movie business as an extra," and I did. And I don't have the personality to be an actor, but I was interested in the background part of it. I was interested in film production because I just have the kind of mind that allowed me to understand the mechanics. I understand logistics. I understand management. I understand how things work.
Right.
And so I ended up spent 35 years in the film business. I became a film producer. I produced music videos and TV commercials all over the world.
Didn't you have a run-in here with one of the film commissioners?
Well, I had run-in with a whole lot of film commissioners.
Yeah? Can you tell us one of those stories?
Well, no. The governor of Florida, Lawton Childs, when he became governor, he did away with the State Film Commission and privatized it and created a semi-public-private partnership between government and private citizens. And the private citizens turned out to be friends of his son and political, cronies. And I didn't think that was right. And I ended up spending about $100,000. I sued these guys in court numerous times for public records. Spent months at a time in Tallahassee with the legislature trying to get them shut down. Finally succeeded. But that's what opened my eyes to a lot of things.
In the corruption aspect
and it's not just corruption. It's just bad government.
I mean, but so that's like a form of nepotism. If the son was involved, I guess that happens. I just wanted to use the word nepotism, honestly.
Yeah. But
family business.
Family business, yeah.
So the thing is that I did that, and I got an understanding of how government works.
Right.
And then what happened was that here in Miami, Tomas Regalado got elected mayor in 2009, and he fired the guy who was our representative, the film commissioner, who did the logistics and issued the permits and did all those things. And he appointed a guy who didn't know anything about that business and who said, well, I don't want to be the film commissioner. I want to be the film ambassador. I want to hang out on movie sets and at the craft table, and I want to socialize with the actors and whatever. And I don't really want to learn that business of issuing permits and blocking streets and all that stuff.
Right.
And so I started a little blog just about this guy.
Wow.
Just to let my friends in the business know about what this guy was up to. And
what was the result of that?
Well, what happened was that because of his antics and my colleagues in the film business going to the mayor and going to the city commission and being lied to, which by then I had a real understanding of how all this worked, and I kept telling my colleagues, he's going to lie to you, and they'd get lied to, and then they'd come back to me and say, oh, Al, the mayor lied to us. And I said, well, Al told you he was going to lie to you. Right? So what happened was that I ended up finding out about what was going on inside the city of Miami. And it was amazing stories. I mean, just absolutely amazing stories. I love the stories. That's why I do what I do today. It's the stories. It's the and what happened was that I started writing, and I started to to get the information, I'd go to City Hall, I'd go to the administrative building, I'd talk to city employees. They would give me information. I would then write about it. And so they were just thrilled that somebody was paying attention because they had often given the same information to the Miami Herald or to some TV station who had never done anything with it. And here's this guy who's saying, well, if you got anything, I'll look into it. And if it's true, I'll write it. And I was doing that. And so it fed on itself. And I started getting more readers. I started getting more information. When I started doing stories at the very beginning, I was doing stories of incidents that had happened 6, 8, 10 months ago, a year ago, 2 years before. But very rapidly, once people began to trust me and realize that I was trying to be truthful and represent the interests of the people who worked in city government,
right,
I started getting stuff that was happening right then and there. I mean, I was able to get somebody in the city of Miami to give me everybody's emails for a year.
Oh wow!
I became the WikiLeaks of Miami.
Wow.
I had over 1.5 million emails on 2 hard drives.
That's a lot of emails too.
Wow.
Which I still use as reference.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So and that's how it all opened up, and
Wow.
I've been writing ever since.
Wow.
Well,
9
yeah,
years
we
later.
definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be able to shed a light on the things that are going wrong, and I think it's important also to be able to introduce this information to new audiences.
Yeah, of course.
That's what you're doing, Angela. I mean,
Yeah.
you're kind of taking all this activism that you're doing and you're introducing it to a new audience.
Right.
And what have you found to be your most effective tool in doing that so far?
All of
Besides your smile.
You know what it is? I don't know. There's a passion in me about just, I hate things that are not right. I hate, it's probably a long story, but I just like to make sure I fight for somebody because some people don't have the voice to. Some people don't know how to. Some people don't know they're afraid to even have an opinion. Some people, that just inspires me. My mom, my dad, my mom's situation alone was just something that that still sits with me. And I didn't realize that till like recently, like within the last year and a half, that it really affected me.
What was your mom's situation?
With her contracting HIV from her boyfriend, because I was born from my dad. Her and my dad broke up when I was like 1.5. Mm-hmm. And they went on, started living their lives, and she met this new guy and trusted him, and her life changed. When she had my brothers, their life changed.
Mm-hmm. How old
and this
was
was in the
your mom
80s.
when she got AIDS?
She got diagnosed in 89. So I'm an 84 baby. I don't mind saying my age sometimes. I don't want to say it.
You're a baby.
My brothers were born 87. So she had to contract around 86 or 87 because they were born in October. Mm-hmm. Nobody would know because in the 80s and the 90s, it was a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it was
than
early
how it is
on.
now.
Yeah.
So if they didn't get sick, she wouldn't have got diagnosed. And we all got tested. Of course, I came out negative, but for knowing that whole situation was just wrong.
Which part was wrong?
I got to burp. I got drinking water and I have to burp.
Go ahead, let it out.
But that's another day. Because I get too emotional. I just felt like the whole situation was just wrong with her, the guy, how her life had to play out, how we had to keep our mouths shut. How I had to keep my mouth shut, going to school and just not talking about it. Because who wants to? Stigma was just like, you're in the house with you in the house with 3 people who has HIV, and like, are you, like that junk was crazy, because it was one bathroom. My mom washed dishes. I had to eat everything they ate with, but nothing ever happened to me, but to keep your mouth shut, to not say nothing, to protect just.
People didn't know about it.
Yeah, nobody didn't know about it. So when I got the opportunity to just come out with that, and it was just a little freeing for me, but it inspired me to talk for everything.
Yeah.
No more not talking about nothing like that in that way. I was always me, but in that way, when it came to something like that, it was just even with my family, it was nothing. We didn't talk about it at all.
It was don't
talk about it because they didn't know. They didn't know. Like I remember going to my dad's mom house, which is my grandmother, and my brothers went over there one time. They had a bucket of bleach water in the bathroom. When they're done, and my job was to wipe the seats, but my brothers got off the seats. So
your brothers.
My twin brothers, yeah.
They contracted AIDS.
They were born,
mom?
yeah. So, again, their dad was the one who
was infected.
Yeah. So when they were born in '87, again, they didn't know until '89.
Okay.
So we lived in the '90s of this whole thing. Nobody didn't know. So the hush hush was in the family. So because they didn't know. Nobody didn't know back then. You're right. Everybody didn't really know too much of the real facts. So
people thought if you got sweated on, you might.
You kiss and you hug, like that's my mom. So it was anyway. Just dealing with that just gave me passion to fight for all type of anything.
Yeah. What happened with your mom and your brother?
She passed 2008. Right after I was on reality TV. Right when I started, actually.
Oh, she got to see you.
She got to see me a little piece of it, not the whole thing, because she was gone right at the height of it. So people are like, you didn't, at one point they used to tell me, you didn't really take it as, I just brushed it off. I'm like, I'm a regular woman. I'm always going to be Angela from Miami, the thing. But she did not witness that. And I just always kept to I never let that go to my head, because during that time, it was just a crazy time.
Yeah.
And my grandmother too, months apart. Yeah.
How about your brothers?
One 94, other 96. So 5 and 9.
Wow.
So I was in elementary when one passed, the other one passed when I was in middle.
That's a lot to process.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. So I have the passion to speak about, especially like this type of stuff. It's like my thing, and I'm just getting there. I got invited to talk with Rick Party on Hot 105 and Benji Brown sometimes to get this political stuff out, especially around the election. I was there, and low key, I'm like trying to get there more. I don't want to go dig up, and I don't want nobody breaking into my computer, But I do want to make sure the truth gets out. I do want to get the truth out. I do want to be inspired by stories that are just not fair.
Right.
That are not fair, that could change. That if we just get the information out on how to, like, I'm all about that. That's what I'm at right now in my career in life,
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I do want to ask you a question about the new law, possibly, about the beach being private, if they pass that bill.
Yeah,
that was like 2 weeks ago, and I was on Twitter like,
what's the proposal?
Going crazy.
Now, what's the proposal?
I think Rick Scott just signed it. I think.
Yeah.
He signed it today?
No, he signed it a few days ago, I understand.
Oh, well, it happened a couple of weeks ago, and I was just going crazy.
It's the first state law in the country that says if you own a piece of property on the beach, then you have the right to make your whole chunk of the beach private, and the public can't go on the beach,
to the ocean,
except for just the little strip that's wet along the actual water.
That already exists in Golden Beach.
Well, there's
Golden
local
Beach.
local ones, but this is the first statewide law
that's
that's
a
ever
state.
been
And now when I
passed.
saw that, I went crazy on Twitter.
It's private property to the high water line.
Yeah, to the water line.
Yeah, no, listen, again, our rights are being taken away from us at every opportunity. And again, politicians recognize that shame is no longer an issue. They recognize that public attention is waning. They recognize that the traditional news media either doesn't have the money, the resources, the reporters to cover them like they used to cover them. They recognize that people like me, although we're out there and more of us are starting to do write blogs and whatever, our audience in the scope of things is minuscule. Mm-hmm. They know that. There's enormous amounts of money floating around. Politics in Miami is astounding. The mayor of Miami ran for office. He collected over $2 million, $2,600,000 in donations between his campaign fund and his PAC. He spent $2.1 million. He spent $2.1 million on a campaign where there were 3 opponents who collectively never received $1 single of money from a citizen in Miami or any place else. The 3 candidates who ran for mayor against Francis Suarez donated a total of $1,102 from their own pocket to their campaigns, of which they spent $274. What that means is that for every dollar that those 3 non-existent candidates, because they had about as much chance of winning as a snowball in hell.
It did seem like it was a one candidate election.
So they spent, for every dollar that they spent, he spent $7,925. Okay?
Now, how is he as a mayor?
Fathom that.
I'm just saying, how is he as a
And then he
mayor?
had an extra $500,000 left over.
No, he's got $1 million left over.
Okay.
He's got $1 million left over right now in his PAC. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But he's not allowed to communicate with those people.
Yeah, but we can discuss all that.
Right.
Because that story will be out at the beginning of the week. You can go to www.thecrespogram.com, and it's spelled THECRESPOGRAM.com.
Is that Graham or Grizzle?
Crespo Grizzle.
That's the Grizzlegram.
Look out.
But again, when you factor in all of those things,
Yeah.
that's the problem that we face. You know, that's just look at what happened with the 27th congressional race. There were 7 candidates. These guys, Ken Russell raised almost $600,000. Hagman's raised $1 million. I think Rodriguez had raised over $1 million. Donna Shalala walks in the door, and says, "Well, I'm going to run." And guess what? She gets $1,300,000 in the course of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's an enormous amount of money
For a local
for a congressional race, but nonetheless, there is just for people who have money and are trying to buy influence.
Yeah, you gotta get
This
the
makes the times of the 20s and whatever they call that time. That's all pikers. These are big time.
Mm-hmm.
These are big. And people don't give that kind of money without the expectation of a return on investment.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
We all know.
They're going to get what they
We
need.
all know where that's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that that our audience and our fellow citizens need to try to educate themselves on who's going to do the best job representing them. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. Is we elect these people to go represent our interests as a community. And I think it's important that people get out to vote. And I'm super curious to see what's going to happen in the 2018 election cycle this November. I'm really curious to see if we're going to see a paradigm shift in the whole system, or if it's just going to be more of the same. I'm hopeful. I've always been a hopeful person, but what do you think about that?
Well, the thing that I would be hopeful for is that we don't get the big money going into divisive advertising just to split everybody up and get everybody arguing about dumb things, and that somehow that the important issues can stay to the forefront.
Don't bet on it.
No, I'm not betting on it. I mean, I'm expecting there to be some kind of scare tactics to come out a few months beforehand that'll distract everybody, whether that's some kind of new bacterial infection or African disease or something that'll disappear 2 months after the election.
Something that throws people off.
Something, but
There's a new bacteria infection. Uncurable herpes. Not herpes.
It's coming up
gonorrhea.
just in time. Just in time coming up.
And here's a problem. Good intentions don't necessarily carry the day. Just because you have good intentions doesn't mean that you should get elected. Because if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you can become a bigger problem than, sometimes it's not good to be an absolutist. Sometimes, a little bit, and people are going to say, well, what did you say?
Right.
Sometimes a little corruption can be accepted if the person who's doing the little corruption has at least some sense of doing right, versus somebody who wants to do right and is clueless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it doesn't know how the levers of power
Yeah,
work.
because
Right.
it's not amateur hour. People have a growing disrespect for government. You cannot have a growing disrespect for government and expect to be part of government.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people get confused about what government is because, if I think that everybody enjoys good roads and clean water and clean air and public schools and, I think we all enjoy those things, but maybe people don't realize that's part of government and how your tax dollars work. And these are things that we all enjoy that we take for granted. I'm able to go about my day and my life and live peaceably because there's not only a police department, but there's also a military. There's also these things that protect me, and there's roads and
water and sewer and all those.
and there's telephone lines and to connect me to the internet. Yeah. And these are all things that are developed by us, the people, which is the government. And, Aaron brought this interesting concept up to me about the whole gun rights thing and the government and why so many of the Second Amendment gun rights people and NRA type people are like, you need to have your guns, just in case the government rises up. And
Wow.
Yeah, where's this? They look at it like it's a vague concept of protecting us against the government. But what they're actually talking about is literally fighting against the U.S. military. They're literally talking about, I need my gun to be able to kill U.S. Army soldiers. I mean, that's really what they're saying. Yeah, when you say that protect us against the government, it's not like
It's not Paul senator. Ryan and Mitch McConnell walking in.
Mitch McConnell's going to come knock on your door to try to take your gun away.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's going to be.
If that happens, you're definitely out of there.
It's going to be an American soldier. So they're saying, I'm buying guns
to kill American soldiers. Yeah, I mean, literally, and it sounds awful when you say that, but that's literally what people say. When you put it that way, people say, well, they don't know what to say.
Yeah, because it throws them off.
That's just
sounds
way
horrible.
left. Yeah,
because the concept of it is horrible. But you're right. This kind of abstract theory of the government is going to come and take my guns away.
Yeah. Like we're gonna be mad about somebody that kneels on a football field because
I was about to say that. Like that's so crazy.
They're
but go ahead.
Disrespecting the soldiers, but meanwhile,
you want us to kill the soldiers, though. But we can't.
I'm collecting weapons to kill soldiers in case us need to.
Look, that's another day.
That is a whole other. That is a whole other
man. Because that right there is them two things together. It's just.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip my hair to that.
All right, so we're going to get ready to wrap up. We'd love to ask one of these questions about music as we go out. So my question is going to be, who have you been listening to this last week? Who's been on your playlist? What playlist have you been listening to? What music has been rocking your world? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a second to think about it. And I'm going to start with Aaron.
Oh man, well, I'm definitely in one particular corner this last week, which is Lil Xan and Cardi B.
All right.
Nice. It's definitely a particular nook I'm in this week, but it's a fun one. It's entertaining.
Very cool.
Entertaining.
Who you got, Angela?
Okay. Mine is really this week has just been a crazy week. So I have two playlists on Spotify and iTunes. They're
Felony Miami is available on both of those platforms, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard the man. And I have Christian gospel songs on there, and it's just been one of those weeks for me. And I have my own song on SoundCloud, a Christian rap. Yeah, it's a Christian rap, like a female Christian rap. Nice. But also I had to listen to Cardi B because it came out. Nicki Minaj just dropped yesterday, so I tried to hear about that a little bit. But overall, it was a week, so I've really been listening to some inspirational, and even earlier today, listening to some what is her name? Myammee. I have an Myammee Pandora station, and it has like everybody on there. What is this gorgeous girl name?
Any particular gospel Johns you can recommend? Any
Genre?
well, like a artist.
Ty Tribbett. I've never get to pronounce his name. Ty Tribbett. He's like, he gets you up. Love all his stuff. Erica from Mary, she's solo, so she has some good stuff. Oh man,
That's
keep going. But Ty is like the guy for me. Like he keeps me going. Yeah.
Where you
I
at,
have
Al?
no playlist. I'm a guy who lives in silence. I don't. I write. I wake up in the morning. I make breakfast. I sit at my computer, and I'm there most of the day. And I value quietness. I can't.
No music.
I can't think. I don't watch television. I don't listen to music. I don't. I write.
Okay.
When I'm out in the streets driving around, I listen to radio. And I've been listening to The Beach a lot.
Okay.
Disco stuff. And I like
rocking the 70s disco.
But I'm just. I'm eclectic.
Yeah.
I like Al Green a lot. Went to his church in Memphis one time.
Okay.
Nice.
Drove 600 miles to hear him preach.
Wow. Nice.
Because I heard
Title
that he was
for a book right there. I like it. 600
but
miles to
yeah,
hear
so
him preach.
I'm an old guy, so I like real old rock and roll.
There you
Okay.
go.
I like
that 70s
an
rock
old
and roll.
blues from the 50s, old rock and
nice.
roll from the 50s.
All right.
That's cool.
All right. Angela's searching
I was looking for the girl.
that.
She's like Claudia somebody, but her voice is so beautiful and relaxing.
All right. You'll have to put her name on the grizzle.
Yeah, Claudia. I
The
think that's her name.
IG gram.
The IGZ.
Look out. All right. I want to thank all of
Thank
you for
you.
being here and participating in this conversation. For the
pleasure.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. For the entire Felony Miami team, I'm Joe Stone. We'll see you next time.
Well, it's early, and morning, well,